So when we frame our walls, we're going to have a header and a footer. Most walls in a house, especially the exterior walls, will use a double top plate. We're not going to here, just to help save money. Anyway, so we're going to use one top plate and a bottom plate down here. When we mark these, we're going to bring them together to mark where our studs are going to go, because our studs are going to be 16 on center. Let's talk about that real quick. If you look at your tape measure, every 16 inches is marked. It's notated as a different color there, okay, making it easier to find. So when we mark these out on our plates, we can find it quickly right here. Now I could mark this right there, and I know right where my center line is. But if I go to transfer that up here, let me square real quick. So I lay that right there, and I transfer that center line here. When I go to put my stud on there, I'm going to cover that up, and I'm not going to know exactly where I am. And I don't want to get down on the ground and try to match this up down here. Here's what we're going to do instead. I'm going to leave my original 16 on center mark here for you. Here's what we're going to do instead. I'm going to lay these out. We're going to go to 16, and we're going to come back 3/4 of an inch. So here's 16 back 3/4 of an inch, and we're going to mark that. Why 3/4 of an inch? Well, if you look at the thickness, not the width, but the thickness of a 2x4, 3/4 of an inch is halfway over. A 2x4 is actually only 1.5 inches wide, not 2 inches wide. Why is it called a 2x4 then? Well, that's the difference in nominal and dimensional lumber. Nominal would be the original or pre-milled size of this. It would have been 2 inches wide. Gets milled down, dries out a little bit, and it gets the dimensional number of 1/2. So it's actually 3.5 by 1.5. It is not 2x4. Anyway, so that's nominal and dimensional differences. But you can see 3/4 of an inch is halfway of this 2x4. So I'm going to back up 3/4 of an inch because I want my 2x4 to sit right on that edge, so that the center of my 2x4 is now centered with 16. So we're going to do that, leave that there. I've got it marked, right? Okay. Bring my other plates together. Bring these things together. Get a better pencil. I can mark it like this. Now I know I'm off on the side. And I can easily transfer that line to both of these boards. Like so. Put an X on the right hand side. I know that's where my studs are now going to set up. Back out a little. So now whenever I take my stud, if I was going to set this on the wall, I know instead of trying to guess where that center is, I can see this line right here. And then my top plate would lay out the exact same way right on top. Then I know I'm 16 on center. But why 16 on center? Where did that number come from? It's not just randomly picked. There's a reason. So why 16 on center? You take 16, and we know they're going to mark. 16 is a factor, math words, of 48, which is 4 feet, and 96, which is 8 feet. Anytime you buy sheet goods, the standard is 4 by 8, 4 feet by 8 feet. And so that's why we use 16 to space out our studs, and we use it on center. Okay, why the on center part? We got the 16 part. Well, on center part, when the edge of that drywall comes up at 4 feet, let's say this is the end of my 4-foot run, I want to be able to fasten it to this stud. I'm going to put it right there and be able to put a screw in right here and hold it in place. And that still gives me room on the other side of the stud to add the other piece of drywall. That way I don't have, my seam out here loose with nothing, no backing behind it. So we put them on center to be able to join sheet goods together. The more you know.